YouTube and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to talk about the 5 things that I think you could do to make you a better runner, or the 5 things that I wish I had known when I started running. I've been running consistently for about 20 years now, and along the way there's been lots of gimmicks and fads and different things I've tried out over the years. Some of the things worked pretty well, other things didn't work particularly well. I tried lots of different types of training in terms of just doing heart rate specific stuff, threshold specific stuff. I've done marathon training, 5k training, half marathon training. I've done Ironman, half Ironman. I've done pretty much, if there's a type of training method, I put myself through for 6 months to a year. And this video today is pretty much, if I was to take all that information along with everything that I learned clinically, so I work as a clinician, I'm a physio, and if I took all the information and if I was to come up with the 5 best things or the 5 things that I wish I knew when I started running, this 5 will be it. So to start off with, when you go out running, it's always good to do a warm-up. Now, a lot of people think that you need to do certain specific exercises or certain type of running drills in terms of warming up, and some of that stuff can be good, and if you have the time to do it, then absolutely do it. But what the research says, and what I found best over the 20 years in terms of stuff that I did, is just for the first 20 minutes, if you have 20 minutes of just easy running. So just knocking your pace right down, not worrying about what pace you're going, not worrying about what anybody is looking at on Strava or thinking about what pace you're running, just running on feel, keeping it nice and easy, allowing your heart rate to come up to the beats per minute that you want it at for the remainder of the run. If you're going to do a workout, you can bring it up to just below where it's going to be when you're doing your workout. This also allows the blood to start circulating around the body, allows the body to start utilizing some of those fats as energy, and it allows the body to start getting some of that glycogen which is stored in the liver into the bloodstream and therefore accessible when you start to do your workout. So I would say the best thing to do in terms of a warm-up is just 20 minutes of nice, easy, gradual build running. If you don't have 20 minutes or you're a little bit stuck for time, 10 minutes is plenty. You don't have to do any specific drills in terms of swinging your leg or hopping on the spot or any of that. Like I said, if you can do that, it's good, and I'll do a video on that a little later. But for the meantime, if you're just worried about getting a good warm-up done, if you have the time, 20 minutes easy, and then go into your run and just start running from there. The next thing I'll talk about, and it's probably the second thing after the warm-up that I get questioned about in clinic, is people ask me what are the best shoes they should wear, or should they get specific shoes. Some people are worried that they over-pronate or they over-supinate, or that they're flat-footed, or that they have a high arch, and should they get arch supports, blah de blah de blah. The list goes on, it's never ending. The absolute best advice I can give anybody, and this is backed up by all the research that's ever done, is go into a running shop, get a couple of different brand shoes, maybe 5 different shoes from 5 different brands, try them all on, and the one that is the most comfortable is the one that you should buy. Comfort leads the way all the time. It doesn't matter if the person in the shop is telling you that you need a better shoe for pronation. It doesn't matter if some physio told you that you have a fallen arch and that you should get some specific shoe. It doesn't matter whether you've tried a certain brand before and now you put them on and they're not that comfortable. The absolute best advice I can give you is go into a running shop, get a couple of different brands, try them on, and the one that feels the most comfortable, that's the shoe for you. The next best piece of advice I can give you is to know that consistency and mileage trumps everything when you're starting out and when you're building up and when you're at a very high level. It doesn't matter about the super sexy workouts that you can fit in. It doesn't matter about the super long run and how fast you can do it. If you're not being consistent throughout the week with your mileage, with your runs, in terms of whether you're doing 3 times a week or 4 times a week or 6 times a week, it doesn't matter. If you don't have that boxed off, if you can't commit to yourself and be consistent all the time, it doesn't matter about the workouts, it doesn't matter about the long run, it doesn't matter about the pace that you run at. If you are kind of willy-nilly and your consistency is all over the place, but you really get that hard workout done and then you do like a hard or long run on the weekend, you will probably find that at some point you're going to get injured. You're going to have some sort of niggle, you're going to have some sort of a problem that's keeping you from running. The best advice I can give you is to just make sure you're getting consistently appropriate amount of mileage that you can fit in, an appropriate amount of mileage for whatever race it is you want to do. If you want to just run a 5k, then maybe the most mileage you need in a week is maybe somewhere between 20 and 25 kilometers a week. If you want to run a marathon, I would say you want to be looking at doing somewhere around 50 to between 40 and 70 kilometers a week. If you want to do a faster marathon, obviously the mileage is going to go up. The thing that will dictate your speed the most and your progression through the sport is consistency and mileage week on week. It's not sexy workouts and long runs at the weekend. Consistency is king. The next piece of advice I give you, and this is piece number 4, is that don't underestimate the power of strength and conditioning to 1, make you a better runner, and 2, to keep you injury free. Strength and conditioning will allow your muscle to adapt and get stronger. And with the adaptations and the strength in the muscle will absolutely bring your running on to the next level. If you don't have time to do an extra workout a week and you only have 20 minutes where you can do your strength and conditioning, 20 minutes is good. It's really good. It will bring on your running. If you're doing 5 days a week and you don't have time to do a strength and conditioning workout, I would say drop off one of those runs and do the strength and conditioning instead. Getting into the gym, doing a few squats, lunges, some chest press, shoulder press, a few arms like bicep and tricep curls, and then some deadlifts. Just those 6 or 7 exercises alone is enough to make you a better runner. Don't underestimate the power of it. Don't think that you can cut on your strength and conditioning and therefore add in an extra run. I would say do the opposite. If you're doing 4 days a week and that's all you have time for, maybe just keep it to running. If you're doing a 5th day and you don't have time for strength and conditioning, drop the 5th day of running and do the 5th day of strength and conditioning. And then last but not least, my 5th piece of advice is on injuries. A lot of what people think of are injuries aren't actually injuries. When you run consistently and when you do to progressive overload, so if you're training for a race and each week you're trying to overload and then back off, overload and back off, what can happen quite often, and it's very, very common with runners, is that your tissues get what we call sensitized clinically. So there's no structural damage. If we were to do an MRI or an X-ray, we wouldn't find anything wrong with, let's just talk about a knee joint. So you might get knee pain, and if we did an MRI and X-ray, you mightn't show up any structural damage. What can happen more often than not is that the tissues get sensitized, and that means that, for want of a better word, the tissues are just a little bit pissed off, and when you're running you're just pissing them off even more and they just want you to back off. So sometimes when we think we're injured, we're not actually injured, we just have some sensitized tissues. And what I would say to people is, in that case, if you can't run because you have a knee pain or you've got Achilles tendonitis or some tibialis pain or shin splints or sciatica or anterior groin pain, try and think of something else you can do. Like I said, try and keep up with the strength and conditioning if you can. If you can cycle, do a bit of cycling. If you can walk, do some walking. If you can do some other activity and be pain-free when you're doing it, you're not injured. You just can't do the running that you want to do or the run you're able to do because your tissues are just, like I said, a little bit annoyed and they just want some time to back off. So you don't have to take a rest because you have some sort of pain. Pain does not equal tissue damage, and tissue damage does not always equal pain. Sometimes you need to take it into your hands and just realize that maybe you got the overload wrong. Maybe you were doing too much. Maybe you did too little for too long, and now the demands in the tissue are a little bit too much. Most of the time, clinically, we find that if the person just backs off a little, does some other cross training, like a little bit of bike, a little bit of cross trainer, maybe some swimming, walking, or strength and conditioning, and then when they go back to running, they find that the pain is reduced quite a bit. So don't think of your injuries as a limiting factor to your fitness. Try and maintain your fitness by doing something else, and try and manage the injury and push it from time to time to make sure that it is progressing or getting better, but don't push it too much in terms of adding too much load and therefore putting yourself a couple of steps back. So most of the times with runners, injuries isn't a sign to stop. Injury is a sign to take action. And most often the action is to keep exercising, but to find some other way to exercise those tissues without pissing them off even more. Anyway, I hope all that stuff helps, guys. Remember, run far, run fast, but most of all, run sensible.